came in knowing that they were going to die.
We certainly remember them with great love and appreciation.
Like the Bedford Boys stepped out of the Higgins boat, it was crazy, and they had to like step over their friends' bodies and stuff. It's really hard to imagine.
I mean, we had no idea that when they went overseas that they wouldn't come back.
Fathers and husbands and sons and brothers and cousins, dying.
The horrors of war cannot be exaggerated.
Bedford, Virginia is a small rural town in central Virginia. In the 1940s, Bedford, Virginia had a population of around 3,200. Many men had grown up on farms just outside of Bedford.
Yeah, of course, I grew up on a farm, and we had lots of garden. My parents went to the market in Lynchburg. It was like a farmer's market or curb market. So it wasn't only a victory garden, it was a garden to really maintain the family.
I was in high school. I was a junior in high school. Our school did not have sports at that time except basketball. And we had a great football team.
It was fun in school. I played on basketball team, and you just look forward to being with your friends. And I had good memories. I had a good childhood.
We we still jitterbug. We went to the little spots in town that had jukeboxes, and we had to make our own happy times.
In the 30s, the Bedford Boys had joined their local National Guard outfit. For many, the National Guard was more of a social outlet, where the men could meet with their friends and earn $1 every Monday night after marching practice.
We didn't have much money, so they were always bringing us candies and chewing gums and the little things that we couldn't buy for ourselves, or we felt like we couldn't. So we had some good times together. And yeah, they would take you. I never tried to kill anything or anything, but they'd take us hunting and trapping and things like that.
Every 4th of July, girls from Bedford would watch as the Bedford Boys marched up and down the streets. In February 1941, the men were called into federal service as part of the 29th Infantry Division. The Bedford Boys were assembled into Company A of the division's 116th Infantry. On February 17th, the day before their departure, the Bedford Boys marched through the town, behind the widely acclaimed high school band. The next morning, the town gathered at the local train station to say goodbye to the Bedford Boys. The men embraced their families, many of which sang goodbye for the last time.
For about 18 months, United States and Allied troops had been in southern England building up for what was hoped to be the final thrust. In order to defeat Germany, the Allies knew sooner or later we had to confront them in northwestern Europe, which was France. So the whole area was cleared of civilians, and guys were kept pretty much under wraps for 3-4 weeks. Just tense. They knew they were going to go, but nobody knew when, as we wanted to keep it a secret. You have about 3.5–4 million men will be bottled up in southern England for this attack.
During October 1942, the Bedford Boys arrived southwest of London at Salisbury Plain, an old British Army base. Once there, the men began the longest training program given to the American infantrymen during World War II. The training would last over 20 months. Operation Overlord was the nickname given to the D-Day invasion.
To prepare for this, guys had trained, they had scaled cliffs near Dover to rehearse for going into combat. They had taken apart German mines. They had jumped over barbed wire.
We trained together for a year in England, and we trained hard.
Men crawled through barbed wire. They fired at targets. They tested different forms of grenades. Machine gun operators practiced jumping into craters, which were blown or dug into the beach.
They said that they were so trained, they had learned how to use all of American weapons, how to use British weapons, how to use German weapons.
And learned how to put together explosives and did all kinds of maneuvers.
For 7 days a week, with only one 2-day break every month, Company A from Bedford, Virginia endured training that pushed their physical limits. In preparation for the war, the men learned how to run while wearing army boots and carrying almost 80 pounds of equipment. They did push-ups, chin-ups, and were required to complete an obstacle course at a sprint. The Bedford Boys also learned how to shoot a Colt 45 pistol, a Garand M1 rifle, and a BAR, standing for Browning Automatic Rifle. It was the standard issue submachine gun.
D-Day to D+3. Everything known about the enemy's defenses was thoroughly analyzed by officers and men.
After 18 months, and some guys even more of training, some guys going back over 3 years, any more preparation, they would have been over ready.
I guess about 4 months before D-Day came, we were informed that we were going to be one of the lead units in the D-Day invasion, and we trained even harder.
And I was also going to tell you a little bit about how everybody here in Homefront worked. You know, we had the Rubbertex here, and a lot of the women went to work at Rubbertex to make the gas masks. Some of them went to Baltimore and worked in the airplane factory up there. Some went to the library and rolled bandages for the wounded people.
Women have joined the men in the production line, and the percentage of women in industry is expected to be much higher very soon. Millions of women who have never before been employed in industry are now enlisted in the nation's labor forces. They're stepping in wherever they are needed to do a man's job.
We all collected these little stamps to buy a war bond. You know, you'd buy, every time you had 10 cents, you'd buy, if you could, you'd buy a stamp. I didn't do very good on mine right there, but you hope to have enough to get a war bond. And so everybody was, at Homefront, was trying to do their part to help with the war.
So guys have their entire pack packed together. Unfortunately, this is some of the mistakes of D-Day, where guys put too much equipment. It's the old, you know, rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So guys took extra ammunition, extra grenades, which greatly weighed down their packs when it comes time to assault the beach out of the water, slowing them down.
In March 1944, the countdown to D-Day for the Bedford Boys finally began. Company A's 4 platoons were reorganized into 6 boat teams, and the exercise became more intense. From now until the invasion, the 30 men in each boat team would train, eat, and sleep together. Each team included 2 officers, a 4-man mortar crew, a 4-man machine gun crew, 5 riflemen, 5 men responsible for demolition of beach obstacles, and 4 men armed with Bangalore torpedoes. LCVPs, or more commonly known as Higgins boats, transferred the men from the water to the beach. The men rehearsed for the invasion on Slapton Sands off the coast of southern England. On Slapton Sands, the Bedford Boys practiced landing from a Higgins boat. Over several weeks, Company A from Bedford refined their skills in preparation for D-Day. The invasion rehearsal included 25,000 men landing on Slapton Sands, which had been prepared to resemble Utah Beach in Normandy.
And they jam-packed guys into these ships, and they were given a really good meal, steak and eggs, or, you know, fried chicken and ice cream, and guys gorged themselves. And what they didn't know then is they were being sent into combat, so it was like kind of fattening the calf before slaughter.
We were looking forward to being on that ship, because those ships, they had Coca-Cola and ice cream.
A big part of the problem was coming from some of the areas from as far away as, like Glasgow, Scotland, ships, some guys had to be on the ships for 2 and 3 days. And the guys who left early were out in the middle of the English Channel, sailing in a circle they called Piccadilly Circus after the famous British intersection. And they were throwing up in their helmets, they threw up in the bathrooms. The English Channel is rough normally, alone at this time, 20, 30-foot waves, guys who had no sea legs were out there being battered, and they said dying would be better than staying on one of those ships. A little before midnight, about 10 o'clock on June the 5th, the paratroopers take off. And as they were flying out over the English Channel, the sailors looked up and saw 5,300 airplanes carrying the American 82nd 101st Airbornes and the British 6th Airborne. And the sailors said there were so many planes in the air, they felt as if they could walk from plane to plane across the English Channel. The paratroopers up in the planes looked out and saw this massive armada, 11,533 ships, all aiming for an 80-mile section of beach in Normandy. It was the largest European invasion armada since Xerxes attacked at Thermopylae in the 480s BC, a completely massive undertaking.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
While the naval ships continued to shell Normandy, thousands of planes bombed the area as well.
The planes take off and they bomb, but they couldn't see through the early morning fog and the naval barrage. So their bombs drop as far away as 6 miles inland. The ships were afraid to hit too close to the landing craft, so they overshot the pillboxes as well.
More explosive shells were fired on D-Day than of all the shells fired during the First World War.
They were told that those beach defenses would be demolished. The Royal Air Force and the American 8th Air Force was going to bomb them, reduce them to rubble. The Navy guns would fire until the first troops hit the shore, and all of those defenses would be out of the way, and it would be no problem coming ashore at the 5 beaches.
LCVPs, or more commonly known as Higgins boats, transferred the men from the water to the beach. Over 20,000 Higgins boats were deployed for the Americans' use on D-Day. The boats were 36 feet long and 10 feet wide, made from plywood with a metal ramp that lowered to allow fast exit, and could carry up to 36 men quickly to shore even in rough seas. These boats were highly maneuverable and powered by a reliable diesel motor.
The 116th from Virginia was the lead troop that went in at 6 o'clock.
The Bedford Boys were assigned to the first wave that would hit Omaha Beach.
So at 6:29 a.m., when the American 29th Division hit Omaha Beach first, all of the Atlantic Wall defenses, the barbed wire, the mines, the Belgian gates, the hedgehogs, the machine guns, who had pinpointed precisely where every inch of ground on the beach, and they had overlapping fields of fire, our man ran into a meat grinder. In order to get to safety, you would have to run with 80 pounds of gear the length of High School Road from Homestead to Sewell, which is a half a mile.
People say, well, you're afraid of getting killed in combat. Well, you know, you're so busy worrying about where the enemy is, and if you can avoid getting shot yourself and this kind of thing, why, you don't think, gee, am I going to die? Even though maybe down inside you probably worry about that.
The following communique has just been issued by Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force.
Under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
Intelligence said that the defenses were manned by old men and boys, or things called an Ostroop. Conquered territories, Poland, Romania, Czechoslovakia, their men were forced into the German army. Some of those guys were there, but we did not know that 3 hardcore German units, the 6th Fallschirmjägers, German paratroopers, the 91st Luftland Division, and the 352nd Volksgrenadiers, who had been fighting Russia on the Eastern Front, had been sent to Normandy to relax. They were some of the most hardcore, biggest killer fighting units in the German army, and they were there on D-Day when we hit.
So we were going into combat and looking at the Germans in a very, very disgusted way as far as our attitude was concerned.
We went up a little hill to overlooking the beach when we went in, and you could just see the beach down there. And they had put coastal batteries in there. The Germans had put coastal batteries up on the high ground covering the beach.
Never stop and help. I was told on my train, never stop and help somebody who's wounded. We have we have medics who do that. And if you do stop, it means you're still long enough for the enemy to shoot you. And in my outfit, some did get shot doing that.
As you know, 19 boys down here in Bedford, Virginia, lost their lives that day right there on the beach.
People of Western Europe. A landing was made this morning on the coast of France by troops of the Allied Expeditionary Force. The hour of your liberation is approaching. All patriots, men and women, young and old, have a part to play in the achievement of final victory. This landing is but the opening phase of the campaign in Western Europe. Great battles lie ahead. I call upon all who love freedom to stand with us now. Keep your faith staunch. Our arms are resolute. Together we shall achieve victory.
By the end of the war, millions of refugees were homeless, and most of the European infrastructure was destroyed.
Then around June the 6th, when the invasion was about to take place, or did take place, we weren't sure who was involved at first. But when they found out that the company A was a part of the invasion. The Presbyterian Church here opened for prayer, and we didn't hear anything to I think it was July the 16th when our first telegram came. So that took over a month that my parents and all the other parents here didn't know what had happened. Well, you know, it was very sad when the telegrams started coming in. I think the first day, Sunday and Monday, I think 11 telegrams went out. Our first telegram came on Sunday. We were getting ready to go to church, and the sheriff brought the first telegram just saying my older brother, Bedford, had been killed. Our second telegram came on Monday. I do have one of the telegrams, and this is the one about Raymond, my brother, second brother, the one that was wounded. It just says, "The Secretary of War desires you to express his deep regret that your son has been reported missing in action since June." And of course, after a year and they don't find the body, then they just declare him dead. Everybody was sad, and everybody was, we said the whole town was crying. I say sometimes the town's still shedding tears for all of our men. It's like you wiped out an entire class of high school students.
I mean, war has always gone on somewhere ever since there's been civilization. And I'm afraid that may mean that it'll always go on. But at least in the World War II, we had a fantastic experience, and we were able to win the world over from something that was going through that it shouldn't go through.
You see, when you fight in a place like that, the people there living there, you know, when people were living where we were having the battles.
World War II was the deadliest military conflict in world history. Over 60 million people were killed. On a single day, D-Day, Allied troops were able to gain a foothold in Western Europe. More than 100,000 troops made it ashore on D-Day. On Omaha Beach alone, over 2,300 men were killed. Among them were 19 boys from Bedford, Virginia. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten.
getting to know them basically.
They be like Smooth. What? Can you teach me how to do? You know why? All I need is to be the super bumpin'. You to back it up and dump it. Put your arms out front, lean side to side. They gon' be on you when they see you hit that Dougie ride. Ain't nobody with my bro from on the side. He go by Bubba and he hit that dance like thunder. Okay, I ain't from Dallas, but I deep town boogie. I show my moves off to everybody trying to do it. I lead a function and all the ladies trying to school me.
What is he doing?
I can't really describe the feeling that you get when you like walk on the beach and you just think that they were walking here 7 years ago, and that it didn't hit me until we came here and saw the beaches and like the area around.
And just being at that age and being close to it, you can relate a little bit more.
France is good. I've had a good time. Like seeing the beaches. It's nice to actually see it after learning about it.
This is November the 8th, 2010. Chapel Hill High School is here in Bedford, Virginia to tell the story of the Bedford Boys and how every town in America was impacted by World War II.
Okay, so when we went to Bedford, Virginia, we talked to a lot of veterans and survivors of D-Day.
And you know, the students read the book, The Bedford Boys, in English class, and then they learned about the battle in history. But it doesn't come to life until you're here. And we've brought it full circle now, and they've walked on the same beach, in the same sand where the Bedford Boys were.
That's so cool! You're awesome!
Yo! Yeah.
From behind. Oh, that's...
Yeah. All right.